What's up, Denver Digs? You know Denver Digs, it's Rhino Restaurants, and today we are at Il Posto. It's one of the best, and the Prince of Pasta awaits. Let's go. What's up, social media? Today's episode of Denver Digs is that Denver Digs, it's homemade pasta. We're talking from scratch every single day, and we have the Prince of Pasta with us today. Patsy is what everybody calls this man here. Thanks for joining us today, my friend. We actually have a dish of some exquisite looking pasta right here. We're at the corner, for those of us who don't know, of 26th and Larimer. And I gotta tell you, just taking a look at this, you can just see the pride that goes into this. Can you share with our viewers a little bit about this process and why this is so important to the restaurant here?
So, pasta is one of those things that is very cheap, but it's cost effective. But that's what everyone knows. And so when you are able to take something like that, and yes, you can still make money on it and it's still cheap, but you put that love into it, that's what really takes a dish from good to great. And so we take a lot of pride in here to really make everything in-house from scratch. The only time in 4 or so years that we've had pasta was during the pandemic for take and bake pastas. Everything else we've ever put out has been homemade 100%. Every shape, every color, it's all been made here in-house.
Okay. Now, is this a recipe that you have personally perfected, or is this an old recipe that's been passed down?
So this is a recipe that I got from, everyone's kind of different. So like our pappardelle here, that was on when I started, and that was passed down from the chef owner, Andrea Frizzi. His mother has kind of passed down to the chefs here. I've tried to mess with it. I can't find anything better. I've tried doing different flours, different ratios. No one can taste the difference, and it's one of the most sturdy noodles I've ever made.
Okay.
The gnocchi has taken a lot of playing around, and I have a pretty good recipe for it, but gnocchi's always kind of dependent on the potato and the weather, so it's really kind of a day-to-day process as to what works and what doesn't. Sometimes it's too wet, you have to add more flour, sometimes it's too dry. That one's kind of very dependent. So the orecchiette here is something, we have an extruder in the house. So it basically mixes everything up in a hopper and then pushes it through a brass die.
Okay.
And that we have a recipe that was kind of, the manufacturer gave us a recipe, like here's a base recipe to get you started. And I've taken that and I've used that as a base, but when I add colors or spices or something to it, it always tweaks the recipe just a little bit. Okay. Some things like black pepper, you don't have to add any more moisture, but when you add something like paprika or some other dry spice, that absorbs some liquid, so you have to go a little bit over where it's too dry and it cracks and falls apart.
Okay.
So it's a lot of hit and miss depending on the type of pasta.
Okay. So guys, this is an exact science and has to be tweaked based on altitude, conditions, ingredients, but the Prince of Pasta has got you covered, y'all. Now, you've been in this location going on 5 years.
Just about, yeah.
Okay, formerly in the Uptown neighborhood.
Yes.
For almost a decade, right? What can people expect when they come in here? What type of experience can they expect when they walk through the doors?
First and foremost, we're very hospitality focused. We, especially since moving to this location, we kind of tried to invent ourselves to figure out who we really are. And we've tried kind of being this kind of white tablecloth, upscale thing. It doesn't work. What we want and what we really embrace and what has kept us around is the neighborhood that we're a part of. We want people who live across the street, down the block, even across town, want them to come in once or twice a week even and just come in through their neighborhood spot, get a nice pasta, a nice glass of wine, a bottle of Barolo, whatever it is, and really relax and feel at home. We don't want it to be stuffy. We don't want it to be pretentious. We want that kind of laid back but very still professional atmosphere, and that's what we try to nail the second you walk through the door is the neighborhood aspect that you feel like you're really taking care of, because that's what gets people going.
Okay, awesome. Guys, show up in your comfortable pasta clothes. You know what I'm talking about. And you're going to be greeted with a lot of love, some magnificent smells, and something that's always on the menu that everybody can count on. What are they looking for they here? And what's your favorite dish that you would recommend to somebody that's coming here for the first time?
So it's a toss-up, it's a battle, and it's a hard choice. So we have the owner's pappardelle here. It's his mom's recipe. It's a Berkshire pork ragu, tomatoes and onions, and marjoram in it, which is a kind of more floral version of oregano.
Okay.
That is the staple. Can't take it off. We can't change it. It's going to be there always. It's really good, don't get me wrong, but for being here so long, I was kind of tired of seeing that just be the workhorse every day. It's really good. If it's your first time, I highly recommend you try it.
Okay.
But I basically tasked myself with building a dish that could compete or beat out pappardelle as something that is flavors that you're going to recognize, flavors that you're going to be able to relate to, but something that's kind of different in both a flavor sense and a color sense. So I've created a lamb sausage bucatini. We get ground lamb and we add all the spices in-house. I created the recipe for it. And then we cook that off and we save the fat. And that fat we blend with butter and white anchovies. And so that creates a butter glaze for the entire dish. So I have a paprika bucatini noodle. That goes in the water. Come out with broccolini, a lamb sausage, this lamb anchovy butter, a little bit of grana, a little bit of lemon juice, a little salt, and parsley. And that is, it's a very traditional flavor combination of sausage, broccolini, and red pepper flakes, but it's presented in a way that's totally different than what you would expect. And it has beaten out pappardelle some nights. They're very neck and neck. And so now instead of having, we have the pappardelle for you to try, now we have two very strong options that you can go something a little bit more classical, you can get something a little bit more adventurous, but I think you're going to be satisfied with it.
Okay, great. Wow, guys, you've got to get down here. This is made from scratch. Did you just hear the description on these sauces? Obviously made from scratch and perfected, from craft cocktails to excellent wine to homemade pasta. This is the place to be. Patsy, thanks for your time today. Really appreciate it, and wishing you the very best as you move forward.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on down.
All right, Denver Digs, it's fresh pasta and from scratch dishes. Get on down to Il Posto and do it quickly. So long.